Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast, the show that brings you the latest insights, thought leadership, and stories from across the global mining industry. In today's episode, I'm joined by Alastair Goodship, CEO of Mila Resources, a mining company that targets stranded assets with robust geological potential by leveraging existing infrastructure and geological data, then applying their team's multi-disciplinary experience, and then that enables them to identify key value opportunities where they can advance to tangible production stage studies. We're going to cover Mila's strategy and portfolio, then zero on in their project in Queensland, what exploration has shown so far, what the next phase is targeting, and the key milestones on the horizon. And then we'll finish with the outlook for a wider Queensland portfolio and what shareholders should watch out next for. So a lot to unpack there. Alastair, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Rob. Good to be here. I'm good and looking forward to talk about Mila's projects.
Yes, great. As we always start these podcasts off, I just wondering you just tell us a little bit about your career, your background, maybe from when you graduated back in the day, and work your way through your career, so the audience knows a little bit about yourself. And as I've always said a lot, and the feedback that I get from these podcasts, the audience likes this part, actually understanding a little bit about the guest and their careers. So I'll hand it over to you now.
Well, thanks, Robin. Yeah, when I listen to this podcast, it's the background that is often very interesting and how people have reached the positions they're in. Rather than give a blow-by-blow account of my CV, I guess I'll just go through the highlights. I mean, where I am now is a COO of Mila and taking the opportunity to guide the progression of our projects and hopefully generate some real value for our shareholders. The work that brought me to this point, I think, can be broken down into a period of learning the good, the bad, and the ugly of the industry, probably followed by a period of taking control of projects and leading them forward, and plus a couple of interludes where I was off in Scandinavia just doing a bit more education, which is probably a bit more unusual in the mining industry. I mean, straight out of uni, I was into Africa and spent 3 years in Liberia, actually, when that was quite a fashionable place to go around the kind of 2010s at the end of that last boom, and exploring for mainly gold there with a bit of iron ore and diamonds thrown in. That was an early education in how hard exploration can be and the need to make a plan when things go wrong. I think in the rest of my career, there's been nothing as consistently physically and mentally challenging as working there. So it was really set me up well for kind of handling anything that's come down the road afterwards. From there, I kind of took on more project management roles for a few years, and probably the next really kind of formative part of my career is in 2014, 2015, when I joined the guys at RSC, Rene Sturck and his crew, working in Rwanda for the government, doing a countrywide exploration there. Very understudied region, still is. But kind of looking at their tin and pegmatites across the country. The main thing I got out of that work was actually a much enhanced understanding of the quality of data you need to really make a success in mining. And QA/QC, a slightly kind of dry subject, but actually the real value that brings to projects and how it was really understudied. And obviously Rene and the guys are still pushing forward hard on improving standards with that and JORC and making great steps forward. In 2015, I kind of wanted a bit of a break and come back to Europe and chill out for a bit. So I took advantage of, this is pre-Brexit, being able to go to Sweden and do a master's in kind of remote sensing and a bit more geology, and went to Lund University and did that for a year and a bit. And again, pre-Brexit, I was able to do that without paying fees. That was a great opportunity for me as well, and just to network and expand my knowledge. After that, I actually went back to Rwanda, worked as the chief geologist for what was Piran Resources back then, but is now Trinity Mining, and undertook and kind of built the team that did brownfield exploration around some colonial tin mines and pegmatite, or some early exploration on the LCT pegmatites in country. Obviously, I'm from Cornwall, so the opportunity to work on a tin mine was something I jumped at, and was very pleased to have some success with there and push out the first resource in country for that, and take that project to scoping study, and that's obviously it's now a producing asset for them. And also drilled out the LCT pegmatites and did the first systematic drilling and confirmation of lithium in country, many years ahead of other people who've now moved in there, including Rio and people who I know are exploring. So that was a very satisfying job as well. After that, I then actually pivoted back into RSC. They had a large project in Zambia, massive land holding, extremely greenfield in the Lafilian Arc, which they needed to get set up and build a team and basically take it from no knowledge up to generating targets and drilling. So went back to Zambia. I'd actually done a bit of work earlier in my career and built that team up and generated a real strong pipeline of targets and drilled the first ones out, and some really compelling projects there, which are still being brought along, actually handed off to a friend of mine a couple of years ago, because I then got an opportunity in 2022. I was asked if I wanted to go to Norway and do a PhD, again, focused on landscape mapping and more advanced remote sensing, some coding and kind of skills I could see coming down the line, which would help me with engaging with AI and, being more efficient in exploration and making sure we get most bang for our buck. That also an opportunity to live in a great country and get better at skiing. So I went to Norway from 2022 and just worked on that thesis for the last 3 years and handed it in earlier this year. But meanwhile, whilst I was there, it actually gave me the opportunity to step back from that kind of constant grind of day-to-day running of operations and bigger projects and give myself the space to actually consider kind of more senior management roles, such as the one I now have with Mila, and put my experience to good use. I think I've seen the good ways to explore in the industry, the okay and the really bad. I won't name projects. So got to the point where I was like, I have enough knowledge. I know how to do this. So time I'm going to front up and actually run it myself, which probably brings me to now. And then my involvement with Mila, where obviously we've scoured through a few projects to find something that fits how we want to develop the business and fits our aims. And obviously brought us to kind of the Queensland projects I'm here to talk about today.
Yeah. Just going back over your career, and you mentioned obviously you went back and restudied. Now, has that proved to be an advantage for you in what you're doing? And I've asked this question a few times more recently on these podcasts. And have you found it to be worthwhile exercise by restudying at a later stage, obviously being in the industry and then going to restudy obviously certain subjects and certain things that you're interested in? Has it helped you in your career?
Yeah, I'd absolutely say so. I think when I was first at university, obviously doing the bachelor's and initial master's down at Campbell School of Mines, I maybe didn't appreciate quite so much what an opportunity it was and how being able to interact with very smart people and kind of upskill in that kind of university environment, how kind of privileged you can be to be in that position. So then the opportunity to go back and again go to Sweden and mix with a different culture and see a different way of doing geology and again look at some different rocks for a simple answer and to kind of upscale in terms of remote sensing was great as well. And then for the PhD especially, it was a great one because it was involving kind of coding areas I knew were kind of weaker and bigger data set management, which is something that is just coming at everybody in the industry, and especially in exploration. You need to know how to handle big data sets and really extract value from it. So the PhD was great in that, although it wasn't a mining data set, it was still landscape analysis and kind of remote sensing techniques that are entirely applicable to mining. And I had the space then to actually spend some kind of dedicated time actually understanding how the data works, how these processes work, try some things that didn't work, try the things that did, and build my own skill set at the same time. And say that kind of then feeds back into my mining work and how efficient I am and spotting obviously good data. I mean, obviously in mining, you get offered a lot of, especially these days, kind of those high-end kind of algorithms that will solve every kind of problem you have and will map the ore body before you'd even drilled. And being able to kind of sift through that and say which ones will add value and which ones don't is a really useful skill for me. But equally, I know just going from mining back into doing a PhD, I mean, I've gone from handling kind of budgets of, millions to get exploration done, to go in to do a PhD thesis where they're like, here's 20 grand, that's going to get you through 3 years. And a lot of the academics are like, well, it's not much money to do the work with. But I was like, well, actually, it depends how you go about it. And mining, especially like, again, from experiences in places such as Liberia or we're in remote places, you rely on yourself, and you sometimes you just got to make the best of what you have. And you can get a lot done for a small amount of money if you just put it in the right place and put a load of effort in. So the two kind of cross-pollinate pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah. So for those that are not familiar with Mila Resources, just wondering if you could just give us a quick overview, snapshot of the business and your strategy.
Sure. Mila's aim is to find assets that have already been de-risked and progressed along the development curve, but are stranded due to lack of funds or being stuck in a larger portfolio of projects, but with clear potential to develop into a scalable project. We aim to then invest in a project and push it along that exploration curve in a kind of cost and time efficient manner, but with some focused aggression and ambition. You can get caught in the weeds a bit in exploration if you just don't have a strategy and a model to test, so we aim to avoid that. In geological terms, it means an asset needs to be well beyond green fields, so we're not looking to do kind of soils and trenching and rock chip sampling, all that early stage stuff. We want confirmed mineralization of good grade, some continuity, and importantly, potential for scale. We also want, in kind of legal terms, a jurisdiction that is kind of good for mining. We want assets that aren't encumbered by poor relations with stakeholders, which often happens. And we want, reliable access to services and people that you need to grow a project, and importantly, do it in a cost-effective way.
I wonder if you can now just, I suppose, walk us through your current portfolio and where each asset is in the exploration curve.
Sure. Our portfolio at the moment is focused entirely in Australia. We have a group of licenses up in Queensland, where our main focus is at the moment. And then we have another license over in Western Australia, where we've done some previous work, and it's still some compelling ground, but we're just looking for kind of partners on that one at the moment. In Queensland, we have 3 licenses, which are Yarrol, Mount Steadman, and Monal. Yarrol is our most advanced project. It sits in an area of Queensland that hosts Mount Rawdon and Cracow mines, among others. What attracted us to it is, firstly, the geology looks good, which is, above all else, what we need to have some success. There was historic mining across the license for gold and a bit of copper, and also does have those successful regional operations around it. And importantly for us, there's a clear explanation for us in the geological model of how this gold got in place and what the controls are. There's something for us to work with and build upon. The other main attraction for us with Yarrol is that in the early 90s, it was explored from kind of greenfield up to the point of having a small initial resource. The resource was from surface to only about 60 meters depth, but it showed clear potential to go well beyond that. There was historic drilling that went down to kind of 150, 200 meters with looked like continuization of the same gold mineralization, and also satellite targets with geochemical and geophysics anomalies, as well as scout drilling done into them as well, which intercepted gold mineralization. But since that work in the early 90s, there's only been sporadic work. Like, the early guys did the hard work, de-risked it, found mineralization with grade and continuity, and then it basically just sat and fell in and out of a couple of companies' portfolios without really getting the attention it deserved. So when we came to review it, we thought there's actually more potential here. And when we went out there to actually look at the site and the historic drilling areas and actually give us the proper run over, we saw a lot of potential in it as well. So that's the one that's kind of top of our activity list at the moment, and where we've obviously been releasing news more recently on drilling and successful exploration so far. I can obviously speak more about that in a moment. Mount Steadman is a smaller license just to the south and sits very close to the Mount Rawdon mine. Again, though, that has an historic resource sitting in it. Similar story to Yarrol. Exploration early in the 90s, de-risked, mineralization found, good continuity, an initial small resource from surface down to about 50, 60 meters, about 30,000 ounces, about just over a gram a ton, and some good regional kind of scout drilling, some holes hitting kind of a meter or two at 100 grams per ton, but then never followed up. And similar to Yarrol, it fell in and out of a couple of companies' kind of portfolios for the last kind of 20, 30 years, and then systematic drilling never happened beyond that initial 1990s work. So we like that one as well. And then finally, to the north of our Yarrol license, we have Murnell, bit earlier in terms of its progress along the exploration curve, but a real pipeline of prospects in this one. There was a historic kind of small porphyry copper gold resource done there, again, not JORC compliant, but again, showed that there was kind of continuity of grade in the license. It's not too far from the old Mount Caninda porphyry. It's been developed in that area of Queensland as well. But it also has kind of clear gold potential on its own as well. The old Manal gold workings, which are a bit of a historic tourist attraction at the moment, were never really explored, despite kind of a lot of activity, and it's supporting a town with some high-grade gold for a while back in the gold rush days. The mineralization there is clear. You walk into some of these old workings and you find kind of high-grade ore shoots going down to kind of 20 meters, but then nothing done beyond that. And our grab samples were getting us kind of 10, 20, 30 gram per ton gold out of this. So we see clear potential in actually applying some modern systematic exploration over this area and seeing what the source for this kind of high-grade shoots that were mined back in the day that really are. Again, beyond that, there's plenty of regional targets there, copper gold occurrences, scout drilling that intercepted good mineralization as well. So between those three Queensland portfolios, or projects in that portfolio, we have a kind of drill-ready targets and kind of resource-ready targets and other ones coming along behind. So there's a clear pipeline for us of potential and value-adding within those. As mentioned, we also have a project in Western Australia as well, which is at Kathleen Valley, and that lies just to the south of Liontown's lithium mine there, just to the east of Bellevue and their gold project there, and then obviously just to the west of IGO. So it's in a real prospective area, and it's a great postcode to be in. It's a much smaller license, but Mila initially went after the gold in there and had some good early success. Some drilling kind of intercepted, 8 gram per ton over a few meters and kind of 15 gram per ton over another few meters as well. But within that, it became kind of structurally tricky as well. The mineralization we hit is directly along strike from Bellevue's mine, so we're pretty sure we're in the right area, but there's just a bit more to figure out with it. And at the point we were kind of figuring out what to do with it, Liontown asked if they could do a joint venture and explore for the lithium, which they think continues into our license, and there are many pegmatites in the north of the area. So we did that with them, and they did a bit of work, but unfortunately they had that bit of a downturn and a blip when they were setting up early last year, so exited that agreement for a bit, not through lack of potential, but just they needed to focus on the mine. So it came back to us, and we're now basically at a stage where we understand it's a great project, but we see it as an opportunity for a new party to advance it. Probably in a more cost-effective way. It does need these technical studies, and they can, if we had the right partner, then probably leverage the work that we've done and generate value more quickly, whilst we kind of get more bang for our buck in Queensland. But it's a nice one, Western Australia, the one at Kathleen Valley. We just have to take our time and get the decision right on it.
Great. Obviously, it sounds like Yarrol is your obviously main focus at the moment. Can you just run through the exploration results to date and why, I suppose, you're excited about obviously this prospect in particular?
Sure. As mentioned, we had a good jumping off point for Yarrol. There was already a historic resource there, non-JORC compliant, but it was enough for us to have confidence that there was real potential. As mentioned, we went into it and did our due diligence, and beyond this resource, we kind of looked for how far can this go? What is the actual footprint we can see on this, or the potential for it? And we found historic drill intercepts, like I said, to depth and along strike and on satellite prospects that all returned mineralization. It just hadn't been followed up. So the work we've done so far in the kind of last year since we've had it, first thing for us was to get some validation drilling in there. Unfortunately, we didn't inherit any core or chips or things we could see. So we had the data, but not the actual rocks. So we wanted to get in there with an RC rig, twin some of the best historic holes, but also fill in a couple of gaps where we thought we saw extensions to mineralization and just wanted to prove that our model and our thinking was right. So we did a couple of 1,000 meters of RC at the start of 2025 and had some very positive results from that. Every hole we twinned on the historic ones gave us the results we expected, and in some cases a little better. And the holes we put along strike into some new areas also intercepted mineralization. So every hole we put in hit, which gave us confidence to really move forward and be a bit more aggressive with Yarrol, and we still see a lot of potential there. So our follow-up work was to get some updated geophysics across it. We inherited some stuff from the 90s, which kind of did the job, but the resolution was pretty damn awful. So again, building the remote sensing background and knowing how much more we can get these days, we infilled that and got ourselves a much more robust model of what's going on with the ground there. And followed that up in the last couple of months with a round of diamond drilling. So we're confident mineralization is there. What we wanted to do was further kind of validate our geological model and then give ourselves the framework upon which we can hang a resource. So the diamond drilling was planned to basically to test to depth beneath the kind of historic resource area, prove that, again, the mineralization continues further out, but also, again, test along strike and just kind of try and see where the edges of this system are. Samples are in the lab for that one at the moment, but from what we see on the ground, we're pretty optimistic. We intercepted the rocks we expected, where we expected them. And again, it showed exactly the same features in terms of controls and mineralization as we saw at shallower depths. So we're pretty hopeful that we've actually extended our known kind of footprint there and built a stronger framework to kind of, again, go and chase some more drilling and get the resource into, and also, again, validated our model a bit further. So those drill holes went down to about 300 meters, and we were still seeing the same type of rocks and that kind of contact zone metamorphism, and also along strike as well. So we expect those results to start coming in shortly, and we're excited to see them. But meanwhile, we're backing ourselves on this one, that there's something there, so we're planning some RC drilling for the end of the year, just again to start closing up and get that resource with kind of spacing onto our drilling as well and start pushing ourselves towards that initial resource.
You're obviously due to launch your next phase of activity at Yarrol. What are you hoping to achieve with that, and what does success look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, success for us at this stage is, again, more mineralized intercepts and expanding the footprint. We've got this core zone of mineralization we trust, and we've proven with the RC drilling early in the year and hopefully with the diamond that it extends to depth and goes further along strike. So we want to both infill that, but then we actually want to see how big is the footprint. We do believe in a bit of drill to kill. You also got to know where the mineralization is, but you need to know where it isn't to actually plan effectively as well. So it's a double one for us. We really want to kind of start getting the shape of what this ore body is, and then that'll let us be more focused and aggressive moving forward with kind of infilling and just getting those meters up and really building a resource there. We also want to then test some of these satellite deposits, which have these scout drill holes from back in the day. And that's all it's all within kind of 500 meters or a kilometer of this main resource area. So it's all essentially the same zone. So we want to get some holes into those as well and just start padding out kind of the available ounces, hopefully, in that kind of proving up that pipeline of prospects we have within Yarrol itself.
What are your milestones for the project, and what should shareholders look out for, and obviously our audience listening as well? What are you looking to achieve in terms of these milestones that you're setting out?
Sure. I mean, near term, it's drill results, obviously, which everyone should be looking out for, and obviously our interpretation of them and what we think it's showing us for the deposit. Obviously, the drilling is driving towards a new updated resource. So the last one was done in the 90s, and we understand the kind of resources of what companies hang their hats on and drive kind of the strategy going forward, whether it's kind of expand it or find a partner or, take the scoping stage. So any resource announced will then obviously serve as a key milestone for us, kind of providing an initial anchor for the size and grade of what we have. And then that will help drive the strategy for advancing the deposit. For us, if we believe the initial estimate actually underestimates what's there and the true potential, we'll strategically probably go again with the drilling and just see how much we have, because we don't want to undersell our shareholders of what we have here. But it probably depends, obviously, on how the market interprets these results and determining our ability to keep the drilling campaign going. But we're looking to be aggressive on it.
If you look at, I suppose, the longer term future, what are your ambitions for a wider portfolio within Queensland? And I suppose maybe as well, are you looking at other states for additional assets?
Sure. I mean, Queensland, as mentioned, we have 3 very good licenses and a lot of potential. There's a strong portfolio of prospects there we need to get after. So Queensland will keep us busy. For now, Yarrol is the first one. As mentioned, there's Mount Steadman, which has a resource we need to investigate again and hopefully update as well. And Manal has a lot of potential, which we're very excited about too. So I think Queensland will keep us busy. It's more about advancing the prospects we have in there along that value curve and getting ones that are worthy of it up to that drill stage as quickly as possible to then get some holes in the ground, prove value, and just have these kind of prospects coming online. Whilst, of course, not taking our focus off if we have something like Yarrol, which stands on its own, then pushing that one along to the later stages of exploration, resource definition, scoping studies, feasibility. There's very much a strong focus on that as well. I mean, the work on Manal and Mount Steadman will ramp up kind of from now into next year, and obviously aim to bring those licenses on a lot further in 2026. And as kind of one of our focuses has been, we wanted to get a team established in Queensland that could actually do this work. So we're not reliant on consultants or just campaign type work. We want to build momentum, and once we have that momentum, not let it go. So we've got a good team out in the field now who've been running the drill program for us, or if you do the next RC drilling for us, but will then take on this work in the other licenses as well, and hopefully just allow us to keep ramping up our momentum, both on Yarrol and bringing other projects online, and just adding that value. In terms of looking for licenses elsewhere, we're obviously always open to good opportunities if we see something. But, I mean, as obviously the reason we like these licenses is because they sat in someone else's portfolio and got a bit forgotten and unloved for a while. So for the right opportunity, yes, we take something, but equally we don't want to do the same as kind of has happened to these projects before. We like them. We want to push them forward. We're investing money in them. And once they're at a stage where we see the value really being unlocked and we have a bit more capacity, then for sure we want to take on other opportunities as well and then do the same again, hopefully.
And lastly, obviously you're a avid listener of the podcast. I just wonder if there was anything else you want to share with our audience. Our audience are predominantly people within our industry. And just wondered, if there was anything else you would like to add and maybe educate our audience on.
I mean, I think our audience is pretty educated, to be honest. I would say for Mila, let's say we do try to keep our news stream updated. So keep an eye on kind of socials, obviously, and the presentations we put out. It's getting into a busy period for us. As mentioned, we have results coming out from this diamond drilling. We're going to go drilling again. We have confidence. And also look for our updates on, I said, what we're doing with Mount Steadman and Mono as well. We've got a really prospective ground, and we feel we're onto something, as do most juniors, obviously, but I think we're backing it up with the data we have. And I'd say probably in terms of just a bit more on the company itself, I'd say it's lean at the moment, which is how we want it. We've got a good mix of people running it, from our chairman, Mark, who's got a great experience of kind of raising funds in the city, very experienced in that area. And then obviously also tied in with Jonathan Edwards, who does a lot of finance for us and has a very strong kind of accounting background, so keeps us across that as well. And obviously myself, for the technical side of things, and our team in Queensland. So we're putting money where it needs to be, and we have guys who understand that the reward for us comes down the line. We're kind of incentivized by results, not by the big salaries at the moment.
Yeah, good to hear. Alastair, really appreciate your time. Obviously, thank you for sharing your story. Give us an overview of Mila Resources and what you're looking to achieve, and obviously wish you well with the assets that you've got, and hopefully moving those assets further along the exploration curve going into obviously 2026. As you mentioned, you put out obviously a lot of news. How can our listeners follow you? What social media platform channels are you on?
Yep, well, obviously the classic RNS announcement. If you're on Twitter as well, LinkedIn, you'll get the updates there as well. And the old-fashioned website is also a place to go after us. And we do give presentations reasonably regularly on the other platforms. And we usually put notices out about that as well. So potential shareholders or existing shareholders can engage directly with us there as well and ask the questions they want.
Great. Appreciate your time and all the best for 2026. And as I mentioned, hopefully you can push through those assets through the exploration curve and obviously achieve the results that you're looking to acquire. And hopefully you can come on the podcast sometime later next year and give us an update.
Thanks, Rob. Much appreciated. And yeah, very excited to see what we get in the next few months. And fingers crossed I can come back next year and the story has moved along significantly.
Yeah, good. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, please appreciate if you can share these episodes far and wide. I suppose we're talking about Australia. Actually, Australia is our largest listenership, but don't always just have to share these episodes with people within, say, Australia, as obviously this is Australian focused, but please share them across your networks and across your contacts in the industry, because by listening to these episodes, hopefully you'll pick up something that you might be doing currently within your role, within your company, that may help you in whatever you're doing. So thank you for listening and sharing. So until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.